The more you give a man, the less they will give you. I don't know what the science is behind this. I just know that it's true. I am so glad that I did not get married in my earlier 20s like I wanted to and like I planned on it, because in my earlier 20s, I felt the need to perform this role of the perfect wife. I was a pick-me before being a pick-me actually had a name. There is a reason that women who dislike men are in happy, healthy marriages, and the pick-me's are married, but a lot of them are miserable. In my earlier 20s, like a lot of other young women, I wanted to be married, and I've always loved being in romantic relationships. And when I was in those relationships, I would do the cooking, the cleaning, the performance of domestic house roles, because that's what I saw my mother do, and that's what I was told a good wife does. I was in what we call very traditional relationships, where the men would take care of like the finances of the place that we were living at, and I again would do all of the domestic stuff at home. I never actually sat with myself to question whether or not that was something that I was happy doing, something that I wanted to do, or if I was doing it because it was a performance. It took for me to grow up, mature, and actually discover who I was to realize I don't even like cooking. It's so funny because I was doing such a good job at playing the perfect wife. I would wear the pretty stuff at home. I am actually a really, really good cook. And I was cooking like every day. I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was doing like all of this stuff. And I was happy, I guess, somewhat content in a lot of those relationships, but it wasn't actually bringing me any fulfillment whatsoever. And in those relationships, I did not realize how much I was minimizing myself and how I was essentially setting myself up for a life of labor. If I would have married any of those men, I would have ended up being one of the women on TikTok who's married, but essentially married to like a grown man child, because I'm taking care of him essentially. Like I'm doing all of the cooking, the cleaning. I would have had children. I would have been taking care of the children. I would have been one of those women that we see crying on TikTok because of their man children that they're married to. This whole thing where women are performing to be in these relationships, it's something that is put in our head at a very, very young age. If you look at how little girls are raised and the toys that we play with compared to the toys that boys play with, we are conditioned to be the perfect wife. It's so fascinating because we have all these conversations online these days about modern women and what women are not doing. And it's just so ironic because we have always been groomed to be good wives. We don't need any training on how to be like a good wife. If anything, we need to learn how to be happy women. That's what we actually need training on, because from a very young age, we are conditioned and groomed to focus on a life where we're going to be domesticated housewives, homemakers, mothers, whatever the case may be. And not that there's anything wrong with finding joy and pleasure in cooking, and I don't know who would find joy and pleasure in like cleaning, but there's nothing wrong with finding pleasure in cooking. But a lot of us don't actually know if this is something that we want to do, especially when you position it as servitude, because it's one thing to enjoy cooking for your spouse. It's another thing to just enjoy cooking in general. You know, it's also another thing to enjoy cooking for your spouse because you want to, rather than it feeling like an obligation. And I think a lot of us are in situations where we quite literally do not know the difference. We don't know if we are cooking because we want to cook for said person, or because we feel obligated to, or because it's a mix of both. A lot of us, I think that we enjoy this cooking for them, but what we really enjoy is how we feel with the knowing that I'm a good woman. I grew up in a two-parent household, in a not even a traditional marriage, I can say, because even though my mom was doing all of the domesticated things like the cooking and the cleaning and the keeping the house in order, she also was the breadwinner our entire lives. So she essentially was carrying like both roles, but she allowed my father to have the illusion of leadership and head of household. And if we really want to clock some tea, a lot of marriages today, that's exactly what is happening. A lot of these households are actually ran by women, but the wives are allowing their husbands to have the title and the ego boost of being the quote unquote head of household, when in all actuality, if you were to pluck these women from the house and let the men run the household for even a week, the house would be all over the place. Like, it would physically be a mess. He probably wouldn't know half of what's going on, what needs to be ordered, when things are getting run out of, when it needs to be replaced. A lot of these houses would fall apart because it's actually the women that are running these houses. But again, because of patriarchy and how we're conditioned, a lot of women are just allowing their men to have the illusion of leadership, the illusion of the head of household, when really it's the woman that is running the whole show. But I digress. I watched what my mother did in her marriage, and I just followed suit. I looked at my mother as the perfect wife because she did what I thought women were supposed to do. She cooked pretty much every single day. The house was always in order. It was decorated. She was what a lot of men say they want in a woman, and that is how I showed up in relationships in my early 20s. And there wasn't like any clear break between me overperforming in relationships to the woman that I am today. It kind of progressed into the woman that I am today. But it started after a really bad relationship that I was in when I was 22, or that I got out of when I was 22. And that was the first time that I got out of a relationship and I really started to say, okay, I'm not going to overextend myself, because I noticed that out of those relationships that I was in when I was 18, 19, 20, and 21, I would leave those relationships feeling smaller than I was when I went in. And I noticed that the men were more when they came out of those relationships. I was essentially pouring so much and it wasn't anything being poured back into me. So I would leave those relationships feeling mentally, emotionally, and oftentimes physically drained. When I left that relationship at 22, I realized for the first time, okay, it's time to really like set some standards and start somewhat of a strict program, even though it's not strict compared to like how I am now. It wasn't that strict, but it was strict for me at that point in time. The very next relationship that I got into after that was the first time that I was in a relationship with a man that I genuinely felt like was very kind. He was very generous. He poured into me, and I did not feel like, when I was in that relationship for a long time. It's actually the longest relationship that I've been in to this day, but I did not leave that relationship feeling drained whatsoever because I never overextended myself. A general rule that I live by is whatever men are saying that they are looking for in a woman, do the opposite, because I can tell you that whatever it is that they're saying is something that is going to benefit them and not benefit you. Again, if cooking is, let's say acts of service is your love language and that's something that you like doing, for one, I would maybe save that until the man like proves himself to you, because even if you are a woman who enjoys cooking, who feels like, you know, not gift giving, but feel like servitude is a form of a love language for you, I don't necessarily think that there is anything wrong with that. However, most men are going to take advantage of that. And I think the reason that we don't realize how harmful this is for us to overperform in these relationships is because if the roles were reversed, if a man is overperforming for us, it makes us fall in love with them. It makes us want to be with them more. It makes us happier in the relationship, and it makes us a better partner. But men and women are not socialized the same, okay? That is something that we have to come to terms with. This is not some type of biological thing where men are born this way and women are born this way. No, because of how we are socialized, women are socialized to give, even to our own expense, and men are conditioned to take, and not have to give anything back in return. So because of how men are socialized and because of how women are socialized, it will behoove you to take all of that giving energy and give to yourself, pour into yourself. Now, I'm going to take this a step further, and I hope that you can take it there with me and that you're deep enough to fully grasp what it is that I'm about to say. But I believe in a matriarchy, okay? I think that everything we believe about how the world is ran right now, as far as what a man's role is, what a woman's role is, I think it's actually supposed to be the other way around. I'm not gonna say I think. I know it is, okay? It is. It is supposed to be. This whole idea that women are here to assist and help men. No. Men are here to assist and help us. This whole idea that men are supposed to be leading us. No. We are supposed to be leading them. This whole idea that women are supposed to be submissive, no. Men are the ones that are supposed to be submissive. I said what I said. It took some time for me to come to this realization, and it's something that I intuitively started to push towards without even fully realizing what I was doing. It originally just started as me just doing what I want, and when I got in relationships, if I didn't want to do something, I just didn't do it. I did not feel this need to overperform in relationships anymore, and I felt like I don't want to, I don't have to. And you know what I noticed? Do you want to know what I noticed? When I got into these relationships and I started saying, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. The men were still there. And they felt like they had something to prove to me. It kind of was like a whole situation switched. Whereas instead of me feeling like I had to prove my worth as a good wife, these men are now trying to prove that they are husband worthy. And the things that it did for my self-esteem, like I was like, the more I poured into myself, the more I just didn't do things that I did not want to do. For one, the men didn't go anywhere. Let's be clear. Like, let's be so for real. Men desire us more than we desire them. That's the irony of it all. Like this whole, like, I know we be saying like women have all the power. This is our program. No, quite literally it is. Like, if you start just doing what you want, like I promise you, like try it out. Like try it out. Trust me. Think about it like this. You ever talk to a man that you don't really like and he just on your body real bad and you don't like him because he's corny, or you got him friend zone or whatever the case may be, and you just kind of treat him like, and he just does the most for you? Do you know that that same energy can be applied to the men that you find attractive, the men that you have on a pedestal, and you're going to get the same effect? I promise you. You are. Now, it might look a little bit different because a guy, obviously, who is more attractive, who is pedestalized for whatever reason, right? He probably does have a lot more options. So a lot of these men are going to still entertain the pick-me's, entertain the women who are overperforming, but let them, because what do you have to lose? You can decide to get in the game with them and overperform and prove that you're the good wife. And now here this man is. He got Sally, Jasmine, and Sue all cooking for him, all cleaning for him, while he just got his legs crossed in his bed. No, be the rare one out of the bunch, okay? Be the woman who decided, I'm not doing all of that, okay? And men are competitive. A lot of the times, these men, especially if you're not even just a beautiful girl, because beauty has very little to do with it. It's more so about confidence than anything else, if I'm being real with you. This is not one of those, if you're pretty, you can just do what you want, because a lot of pretty women get walked all over every single day. I was one of them, right? It's more about confidence and certainty and surety in self. When you feel like you can just walk away from the relationship at any given moment, when you feel like you don't need that man, that energy, that aura is very loud, okay? And these men are going to be the ones trying to prove themselves to you. I promise you, you don't have nothing to lose, especially when we're talking about a man, babes. But you do have something to lose if you decide that you're going to be the one in a relationship that's overperforming. It genuinely is not worth it. It's not. If you like cooking, host for your friends, cook for your friends, cook for your family. Please do not be out here cooking and cleaning for a man. I'm married and I still don't do all of that cooking and cleaning. If I'm feeling a little frisky, okay, like I'm just feeling frisky and I decide I'm gonna cook, first of all, it's never given I'm cooking for my husband. Let's be very clear. I have never cooked for this man. If anything, I cooked enough food for more than one person. And of course, I'm not just gonna have food for myself and he don't have food. A lot of these times I might cook. Sometimes I'll make a plate because I don't like doing anything up in his household that come across as I'm a good wife. And he knows that. Like, he will jokingly say to me, oh, you're being such a good wife. Okay, now I'm not cooking for the next 3 months, because don't ever disrespect me. Oops, sorry, kick the camera. Don't ever disrespect me. If a man tells you that you are a good wife, take that as an insult. Take that as a threat, okay? I have no desire to be a good wife. I don't. I said it, okay? I said it. I have no desire to be a good wife. You know what I desire? I desire to be happy. I desire to be fulfilled. I desire to live in a consistent state of bliss and pleasure. Those are my desires in this marriage, in this relationship, in this household. If I just so happen to cook enough food for more than one person, yes, my husband is going to get a plate. Most of the time, I'm not making that plate. The food is on the stove. Make yourself a plate. If I make a plate, it's out of convenience or whatever the case may be. But the whole cooking for a man, never again. I think that everything in life needs to have some type of balance. So naturally, if you're the one in the relationship who has positioned yourself as the server, the submissive woman, the domesticated housewife, that is going to be your role. And naturally, there needs to be some balance so the other person is going to fulfill whatever harmony is needed in that situation. Now, if you decide that you're not going to be that woman and that you're going to show up in the relationship in a way that is beneficial to you, you will find that the balance that is done in a relationship is something that you feel more fulfilled in and something that you can sleep with at night. That is going to look different for every single woman. I can't fully spell it out for you and tell you what is going to look like for you to be in a relationship where you are fully fulfilled and you're not feeling like you're overextended too much. But what I will say is, when you are in a relationship, it really comes back to knowing who you are and showing up in the relationship and making that a non-negotiable. I don't necessarily believe that you need to spend time alone and stop dating for a while to know who you are. I actually think that you can learn a lot about who you are while being in relationships. It is more about self-reflection and introspection to truly uncover and unlock, who am I? What do I like? What do I not want to settle for? What are my standards? What are my non-negotiables? I don't think that you need to be single to do those things. In fact, sometimes being in those relationships, you'll be presented with certain things where you realize, yeah, I don't like this, I don't want this, and that will help you uncover who you are. For me, it happened when I was 25, which makes so much sense because, you know, when you're 25, that's when most of our frontal lobe is like fully developed, and it was kind of like a switch went off. So let me tell you how this whole thing started, and not this whole thing, because again, it was a natural progression, because this specific story that I'm about to tell you is just one other pillar that I reached to uncover and unlock who I was. It was a very pivotal moment in my adult life. So when I was 24, it was 3 months before my 25th birthday. My boyfriend at the time, he turned 25 3 months before I did, and I did the most for his birthday. Gift giving is my love language. I love birthdays, and I was always going over top for the men that I was in a relationship with. Now, I don't know why I hadn't learned this lesson by now, because I, in my earlier 20s, had been in like 2 different relationships where I did the whole thing. I decorated the hotel room. I'm gonna put evidence on the screenshot. I still got it in my Snapchat. Decorated the hotel room, balloons, did all the things, right? And then when my birthday came around, there was none of that. How and why I did that twice and then decided to do it a third time, I don't know why I felt the need to learn that lesson multiple times, but I did. So fast forward, it is year 2022. I am 24 years old. Was that 2022? No, I'm sorry, that was 2021. It's 2021. I am 24 years old, and it's my boyfriend's, his birthday is coming up, and I wanted to do the whole thing again, right? Rose petals, just all the things, really created such a beautiful like birthday experience for him, because at this point we were together for like 2-3 years, and 25 is like such an important number, and I'm like, it's his 25th birthday, let me do the most. Fast forward, it's 3 months later, and it is now my 25th birthday. Now, a month before my 25th birthday, I had already started like planning my own 25th, but he was just like, no, like, let me do it for you, like, let me plan your birthday, it's your 25th, boom, 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 boom. So I wake up on my 25th birthday, and could you believe there wasn't a balloon, a cupcake, a card? There was nothing. My 25th birthday was one of the worst birthdays that I ever had, but it was such a necessary moment for me to have, not just in relationships, but as a sovereign woman, because ending my 25th birthday crying, and my friends did show up for me that year. I was sad. My friends came through for me. But going to sleep on my 25th birthday crying next to my partner because he did not show up for me even close to the way that I had shown up for him, that was a day that I realized, don't you ever in your life, for one, put your birthday in the hands of someone else. It's not someone else's responsibility to make your birthday special, but it also made me realize, stop doing more for men than they do for you. Point blank period. I told myself, I did decide that day that I was leaving that man. I did not leave him for a whole year later, but I was planning on it. Like, I'm not even gonna hold you that whole year of 2022. Ooh, child, that's another story for another day. But that was a planned breakup. Do you hear me? When I finally broke up with him, I knew on my 25th birthday that he was cooked. Like, that relationship was over. I just needed to get all my ducks in a row to actually like leave this relationship. But November comes around in 2022. It is now his 26th birthday. And you know what I did on his 26th birthday? I took the money that I would have spent on his birthday and I bought myself a solo trip to Mexico for my 26th birthday. That again would be 3 months after that. My 26th birthday comes and I went to Mexico and I had one of the best birthdays that I've had to date. Matter of fact, I can't even say it was the best. It was for sure one of the best. My 21st was good for different reasons. Nonetheless, it was such a beautiful and necessary and life-changing moment for me to go out the country for the first time, go on a solo trip for the first time on my birthday at that. I literally had the time of my life, and I noticed the more that I chose myself, the more that I put myself first, the better that my life got, the better that my dating and relationship experiences got. At the end of the day, you have everything to lose and nothing to gain by settling in a relationship. You just don't. This whole idea that you don't get everything that you want in a man and that women need to settle and pick certain things that you want, I don't believe that, okay? Decide what it is that you absolutely must have in a relationship, and relationship aside, decide the type of life that you want to live, the type of quality that you want in your life, in your relationships, and don't settle for anything less, because again, what do you have to lose? Yourself. Okay, that's what you have to lose. If you decide that you're going to be in these relationships and you're going to settle, you're going to overperform, you're going to give to a man, you're going to leave these relationships tired emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Okay, women, womb carriers, okay, pour into you, because here's another thing about how energy, harmony, the law of attraction works. Everything that you are is what you attract, is what you get. When you love yourself, when you pour into yourself, when you have high standards for yourself, naturally everything in life has to match that vibration. The men, the friendships, the career experiences, the lifestyle experiences, everything has to match the energy that you're pouring into yourself. When you decide that you don't play about you, other people can't play about you. When you decide that this is the bar, this is the standard, the men have to meet that standard because that's your standard. This is where you are. You're not even going to see anything down here. You're not even going to see anything because you are here. This is the standard that you set for yourself. Everything is going to naturally meet you where you are. Decide what it is that you want. Settle for nothing less than that. Nothing, absolutely nothing less than that. And I promise you, a relationship, whether it is romantic, platonic, whatever the case may be, the experiences that you will have when you choose yourself, when you prioritize yourself, when you don't settle for anything less than what you desire, you are going to have the experiences that are exactly what you want.